Another shocking case is the case of Erica Murray in Blackstone, Massachusetts. In her case, it was not just murder, but incredible neglect that had her case make the headlines. When I first came across this case, I found it also unbelievable, but imagine you are a husband and a father and one day you discover you not only have the children you know of, but under your roof in a spare room is a severely neglected 3-year-old child and a 6-month-old baby that is yours. Erica Murray had given birth to their children, and she had chosen to lock them in a room and hide them away from the world. The conditions are horrendous to describe. They never went out, never were stimulated and were hardly fed. Apart from the children, the only other object in the room was a mattress on the ground. The entire room looked as if it had been painted from the floor to the ceiling with shit stains and litter was dumped everywhere. The children were completely nonverbal and obviously had never had a bath. Erica, who was born in 1983, had a normal and happy childhood. She grew up in Northridge, Massachusetts, and was a carefree and happy child. She had 2 brothers with whom she had a great relationship and was well taken care of by her parents Kevin and Sharon. Kevin was very handy and a mechanic by profession, and Sharon was a housewife. The kids spent a lot of time outside, especially in the summer, and the close family took a lot of trips and went on vacations. She did well academically and had a close circle of friends. She took a lot of pride in her appearance and everything about her childhood is the all-American kid's dream. Erica did, however, have an incredible fear of abandonment. No one to this day understands why, but she always had a fear of being judged and abandoned, especially by her family. When she was 16 years old, she got a part-time job with McDonald's and very quickly, she got the attention of a much older man who also worked there. Raymond Rivera, III, who was 7 years older, which made the relationship very inappropriate. He perused her with vigor and soon they were dating. A year after they started dating, at the age of 17 years old, Erica fell pregnant. She was petrified about what her family and friends would think of her, so she decided to hide the pregnancy. She did tell a close friend who accidentally let it slip one day at their home and the secret was out. Her family was very supportive, but she did not want anyone at school to know and refused to go to her high school dance out of embarrassment. She did attend her graduation and shortly afterwards gave birth. Her parents even offered for Raymond to move in with them. Her parents offered so much assistance, and I must wonder if the age difference did not also contribute to their concern. For 2 years the little family with baby Kayla lived a relatively domestic life with her parents. The one condition the Sharon and Kevin had was that she did not fall pregnant again. The couple were always financially broke and Erica had already begun so young to have children that they wanted her to wait. Well, guess what? She fell pregnant at the age of 20 years old. A baby boy was born by the name of Nicholas and the entire little family moved into their own home. The house they moved into belonged to Raymond's sister, but it was vacant at the time. The 3-bedroom house was at 23 St. Paul's Road in Blackstone. After moving into this house, Raymond's personality suddenly changed radically. Now that no one was watching him, he showed his true narcissistic course. She was completely dependent on him, and he controlled everything. He began to isolate her and convinced her to quit her job and stay at home. He was a typical abuser and he began to verbally abuse her. He never physically abused her, but she was trapped in a home with an angry man who would humiliate her at every opportunity. He took complete financial control and reigned his household with fear. The effect was instant. She went from fashionable teenager to someone who hardly took a shower and never wore makeup in a handful of years. Her fear of abandonment had turned her into an almost depressed zombie, and Raymond knew if he wanted her to do anything, he should just threaten to leave her. He made one thing very clear. He did not want any more children. They could not afford it, and he would leave her if she did. Ironically, the two continued to have unprotected sex. Now, most of you don't need a lecture on the birds and the bees to know what will happen if you do that. Erica knew Raymond's terms, but she also did not want to have the child aborted or adopted. Of all the wacky options in the world to deal with this problem, she decided to have the baby, keep it and raise it in secret in the same house she shares with Raymond. She was so isolated and wore mostly baggy clothes, and eventually she convinced herself that she just might be able to get away with it. She carried to full term, and he never knew she was pregnant. Just like Megan, she gave birth to her baby in her bathroom alone. No medical attention for her or the baby was an option at this point. It's easy to hide an inanimate object, like a phone or a remote, but hiding a living, crying baby is no easy thing to do. They need constant care, and those first couple of months all you try to do is to keep it alive and healthy. You don't even need to be a parent to know this, but Erica was convinced she could pull this off. She placed the baby in an upstairs room usually used for storage, and so begins the neglect of the first of her children. Raymond did not notice the baby, and after a couple of weeks, Erica thought this was the perfect plan. When there was a noise from the child, Erica would tell her children and Raymond that she was babysitting for a friend. Despite his complete control of the house and its occupants, Raymond claimed to have never suspected he had a child and that he was not aware of it. This phase continued until Erica fell pregnant again, because that's what happens when you have unprotected sex. She was still wrapped in delusion and fear of abandonment, so she did what she did before. She hid the pregnancy and gave birth alone in the bathroom. The two children remained in that room until they were discovered. They were not potty trained, nor were they regularly changed. They were hardly fed and had no stimulation. To the outside world it appeared that Erica led a normal life and was a normal mother. She might not have been able to have a real social life, but on Facebook, photos paint the picture of an average household with average kids and parents. In 2010, Kayla was 13 and Nicholas was 10 years old, and they featured a lot. Her secret children remain her secret for 3 years. If you knew about the secret children, the photos of them having parties and eating out without them is sickening. Raymond was working for Staples but had begun growing and selling weed on the side. He was still being an abusive bastard to his wife, and one of Raymond's rules was that no one was ever allowed to visit their house. On the 27th of October, 2014, Erica and Kayla were out of the house for the whole day. She went to her neighbor, Betsy Brown, and asked her to keep an eye on Nicholas. Her 13-year-old boy who was friends with her son Pete, so Betsy did not mind. Nicholas and Pete were playing outside when Betsy decided to go to the shop. While there she got a phone call that would change the lives of everyone in her neighbor's house. When she picked up the call, her son was frantically shouting, "We can't get the babies to stop crying." This was all he shouted repeatedly, which confused Betsy. She rushed home to find the boys were at Nicholas' home and that there were indeed babies crying. When she arrived at the house, she found the two boys deeply distressed. She burst through the front door and the first thing that hit her was the smell of shit. I am not talking about a dirty, deeper kind of smell. It was a wall of stench that hit her right between the eyes. The house was also full of trash. Not a little, I mean heaps and mounds of discarded food containers and other rubbish. I am not describing the mess of a house that has been lived in. One of my sources described the devastation as if someone had gone to a landfill and transported truckloads of trash and just randomly dumped it in the house. Bugs, flies, and maggots feasted on rotten food, and shit was attracting even more insects. Betsy wanted to vomit, but she could hear small children crying, and she was a woman on a mission. She made her way up the stairs where she could hear two children from two separate rooms screaming. In the first room she opened, she found a 5-month-old baby lying on a mattress covered in bodily fluids, crying its head off. The shit and pee had collected so much that the mattress had collapsed in the middle. In the second room a similar scene met her, apart from the fact that she found a 3-year-old girl in this room. The little girl looked as if she had been painted with shit, and her trauma was palpable. With a vacant stare in her eyes, she was rocking herself back and forth. Both rooms had the same amount of trash the rest of the house held. To comfort the children, she covered the children, and then she placed a call to 911. She explained to the best of her abilities the discovery, and explained that she did not want to touch the children because they might be hurt. She continued to softly talk to the children until the police arrived. Both children needed immediate medical attention and were rushed to the hospital. As the police fought through the foggy stench, they were amazed about the heaps of human waste that lay amongst the other debris. Dangerous objects were all over, and wires in wall sockets were exposed. Considering there are 4 children living in the house, this was all an extremely concerning discovery. Raymond's weed operation, which he operated mainly from his basement, was quickly discovered. One of the rooms was so filled with trash, they struggled to open the door. In the room in which the 5-month-old child was found, police also discovered a dead dog that had been there for some time. The cat and the dog that were still alive were also in bad shape and rescued. After being gone for 8 hours, Erica returned. An officer approached her and asked her where she was, and she, in a deadpan face, told them she had things to do. Child Protection Services quickly removed the remaining children, to which Erica had no reaction. All she asked for was for the police to be careful because her cat was an indoor cat. At the police station, she calmly confirmed that all 4 children were her children, and that Raymond was the father of all 4. She told the police that Raymond did not know about the babies, and she told them about his desire not to have any more children after the first 2. She was asked for the names of the 2 babies, but Erica had never named them and simply referred to them as it or them. At the hospital, it was determined that both babies were suffering from malnutrition. They were extremely dirty, sensitive to sunlight, and had never been potty trained. Their skins were blistered, and maggots were found in their hair and ears. Neither child knew how to interact like a regular baby. They were terrified of people, and because the 5-month-old had delayed movement and the back of her head were flat from never being picked up. The 3-year-old could not walk, and she was unable to do basic things like drinking from a cup. Neither had been ever bathed, and neither child knew how to communicate. Neither fortunately had any life-threatening conditions, but they were nonetheless in a very bad way. If anyone in the house asked about the sounds, Erica would say she was babysitting for a woman named Michelle Ridgway, whom she completely fabricated. She even made a Facebook page for her. The profile pic of this fake profile was Erica in a wig and glasses. Raymond did indeed know nothing, despite his controlling ways. How he did not know is still a mystery. He denied being the father, but a DNA test did confirm he was. He hardly ever went anywhere in the house except the basement, and the shock turned him into a crying heap. Erica, on the other hand, seemed unaffected. She was bailed out and continued posting on social media. People began digging into her posts and found she often posted her outrage about parents who were not good parents. On the 10th of September, 2014, police returned to the home. Conditions inside insisted they wore hazmat suits, and inside Kayla's closet, police discovered 2 boxes with blood-soaked covers. Both contained the skeletal remains of babies in worm seeds, with a full head of hair and another skeleton of a dead dog. In Nicholas's closet, there was another baby corpse, but this one still had its umbilical cord on and was naked. This baby was found in a backpack, and tests would later reveal that all 3 were born alive and the oldest had survived till the age of 1 month old. Erica and Raymond were arrested. Erica was charged with the murder of 2 babies and the concealment of death of the 3rd baby, injuries to a child, 2 counts of wickless endangerment of a child, 2 counts of animal cruelty, and Raymond was charged with animal cruelty, causing substantial danger to child, 2 counts of assault and battery on a child, animal cruelty, and with the weed-growing operation. Both were held in jail for the 5 years it took for the case to go to trial. In June 2019, Erica's defense was mental illness and spousal abuse and diminished capacity to think. She suffered from depression, and a visually psychologist found that she did not want to deal with her prison. Prosecutors shut that defense down. She was smart enough to create an fake social media profile. She was, however, not found guilty for the murders of her 2 little infants, but was found guilty for all of the other charges. Raymond was found guilty of all his charges. Raymond received 4.5 years but was released for the time he had served. Erica was sentenced to 6 to 8 years. Considering she serviced 5 years already, it's safe to assume she has already been released. Erica and Raymond's house was demolished because the state of the dwelling was not deemed livable for humans. The 2 older children were sent to live with one of the grandparents and by all accounts are doing very well. It's easy to forget that these 2 children also lived in the squalor that the couple called home. The 2 younger children were absorbed into foster care after they were released from hospital. The 3-year-old had learned to walk after only 2 weeks in foster care, and her improvement has been dramatic. Not much is known about how the baby is doing, but whatever her conditions are, it could not possibly be as bad as it was with their birth parents. This case has so many similar themes such as bad parenting, domestic violence, and substance abuse, being only 3, which goes to show that subjects such as good parenting and mutual cohabitation should be taught at schools. In the true crime world, we often keep on repeating the mantra "see something, say something," but Erica's case shows that sometimes you must trust your 6th sense. In this case, neglect, abuse, or even murder was not obvious, but people felt that something was not quite right. Perhaps we've become too accustomed to not interfere. Our own lives often hold enough challenges to keep us busy, but I think if you feel in your gut something involving, especially a child, is wrong, you should at least probe a little. If you don't, it might make you culpable. Once again, thank you so much for the ongoing support. I hope you enjoyed this episode and will join us again next week for another gripping tale. Please join me here on my YouTube blog for further true crime episodes. Please like, share and subscribe if you have not already.